To introduce you to Mr. Suresh Prabhu, an all-India rank-holding chartered accountant with a law degree, and he is also prosecuting 2 PhD programs in climate change and economics in Germany and Mumbai respectively. As a former Union Minister of India, he held 6 important portfolios and introduced landmark legislations as policy initiatives in the power sector, energy efficiency, environmental issues, chemical weapons, and more. He was adjudged as the best performing minister, a widely traveled and well-versed person. He is often described as an uncommon whiff of much-needed fresh air on the horizon of Indian public life. May I request on stage Mr. Suresh Prabhu to share his valuable views with us on this eve of celebration.
So, good evening, friends. And it's good news for the citizens of Chennai. We'll have to get used to a new taste of water. For a pretty long time, Chennai has been importing water by tankers, sometimes by train, from places pretty far away from the city itself. And like Chennai, there are quite a few towns, cities, villages in India facing a big water challenge. In fact, while we speak here, a good part of India is already under drought. And this is not a very unique phenomenon that India suffers drought off and on. And also not very surprising that while we suffer drought on one part of the country, there are some others who suffer from a water problem, but of a different kind, because there is too much of water in that place. Northeast, the eastern part of India, always have floods, particularly in the month of August or around that. In fact, this year was a very unique one, in which Assam suffered floods thrice in a year, 3 times in 1 year. And therefore, it's a very regular phenomena in India that some part of India suffers droughts, some sort of India suffers floods. At the same time, we are not able to manage the water resources as effectively as we should be to make sure that every citizen of India gets enough water, not just for drinking, for sanitation, and for meeting the other requirements of survival. It's, of course, we really need to find out how can we use the natural resources of water in a manner that will meet all the requirements. We are only 4% of the water, and bulk of it, more than 80%, 82, 83% almost, goes for agriculture. So the remaining sectors have to meet the growing demand for water with a very limited availability. So we need to find out the best possible solutions to manage this, and the surface water, which has already become for a long time scarce. So we use a lot of groundwater, and now it is also becoming extremely scarce. In fact, some places, particularly in the north, Punjab, Haryana, the so-called states where the Green Revolution took place for the first time, those states are now even losing the aquifers, which actually creates the groundwater resources. So therefore, it's a very challenging time for India, and I think at this time, we have some unique solution in terms of getting water from the sea, which is now the salinity is removed and it is made potable. In fact, India has 7,800 kilometers of coastline, and most of the coastal cities could actually benefit from this experiment if it is very cost effective, it is something which is efficient and which actually provides the necessary water to the people in that area. In fact, why I'm saying the coastal areas, because the water typically is not always available in the coastal areas which is fresh water. And there are always issues of riparian rights. Where the water falls from the skies, sometimes people will claim that access to that water just because they feel they have a riparian right over that water. So it might create a situation in future wherein those who are very close to the water resources, where the water actually starts flowing, they may claim that it is my water and therefore the others should not get any right over it. And this might happen more profoundly because as the population rises, the demand for water is going to rise. As the more economic activity takes place in India, this type of a conflict might come to fore in a more profound way than what it is now. And therefore, the coastal areas could then claim legitimately that we have access to this water because others are claiming riparian rights for other water. And therefore, this could be a very interesting solution if we can work out in a way that water becomes available to people at a very affordable price. Now, it's always a challenge to decide what is affordable. In any community, affordability depends upon the purchasing power, but in case of water, it's just not an economic resource. It is also a resource which is required for subsistence. And therefore, the opportunity cost of not having water is so high, we have to really find out what's the right value of water. Value is known, but how do you put price on that value of that water? And that's always a very interesting and challenging issue. Today, we are getting water, as I said, from underground resources. So cost of extraction cannot be the only way we can actually value the water or price the water. We have to also find out how much of that water, if it is mined in this manner, no longer extracted but mined, what could be the impact of that on ecology? What could be the impact of that on the sustainability of aquifer itself? And therefore, we really need to find out the pricing of water in a manner that we can put all these competitive issues in place and then arrive at the right price of water. So I think desalination could be looking like, on the face of it, not so cost-effective solution, but if you really look at it, if water is not made available at all, what could be the cost of that, and then we can arrive at the right value of that water. I think we really need to find out some innovative solutions. While we accept desalination as a solution, is how do you use, what should be the source of energy that we should be using for taking the salt away, removing the salinity from the water. I think today we are using the grid power, or we are necessarily using the fossil fuel resources. Either oil, gas, or sometimes even coal-fired power station will actually be supplying electricity to desalinate water. Can we not use other sources, renewable sources, particularly the solar energy? In fact, where the sea is, always you can find, particularly in the areas where we are, the sun always shines much brighter than the rest of the places. So can we not use solar energy to desalinate water? That could be a next very interesting solution if we can really make it happen. I recall the first visit of a former president, Dr. Abdul Kalam, was to UAE. I was accompanying him and we visited the desalination plant in Abu Dhabi. And then this question was something which was playing on our mind. Can we not use solar energy and desalinate water? Abu Dhabi, of course, don't have that problem. They have too much of sun, but they have too much of oil. But therefore, can we, India, where we don't have much oil, we are going to import 90% of oil in the next few years' time. We don't have much of gas either. So can we not make solar energy as a means of resource for energy to desalinate water? And if we can make that happen, that would be really a transformative action that India will really benefit from. And therefore, I think we really need different solutions. While we need energy, while we need water efficiency as a means, and water efficiency should be applied across the board for agriculture, for industrial applications, for municipal water supplies, for drinking water, all that. But even if we use the most efficient method, we also must find out that whether that's going to be enough or we need augmentation of water resources. And if we need augmentation, desalination could be one of the means of augmenting water supply. We also need to find out some technologies wherein seawater, saline water, brackish water can be used for agriculture. And that's something which we really need to think about, the new varieties of plant which can grow on that. We are already using brackish water, we are using seawater for cooling purposes for a power plant, because power generation is the second largest user of water after agriculture. So we really need to find out different ideas, different solutions. But I'm very glad that Chennai has taken a lead in creating India's largest desalination water supply system. I'm sure this is the first, will not definitely be the last, but there will be many more which will come, which will improve upon the new ideas that will be created in the years to come. We learn a lot from this system. We could unlearn also in terms of how best we should really make use of this vast resources that is available to the humanity in terms of seawater. In fact, nature has given too many resources to the human beings for them to use. Probably sea we always use for seafaring, for fishing, for finding out what are the different aquatic resources available there, but we rarely use this as a major means of finding out how it can quench the thirst of the humanity. Probably this is one way of looking at it, but I'm sure while we make use of it, we'll also look at water resource management as a holistic issue and use this as one of the means, not the only means to make it happen. So congratulations once again. I'm very happy that a company which has made it possible is an India-based multinational company. In fact, we are always worried by the fact that multinationals are going to come and swamp the Indian markets. In fact, even for swamping we need water. So that is becoming difficult. But even if we really feel that and will feel threatened, I think this is a time when an India-based organization which acquired a company in Austria, in Vienna, and has actually made it possible in this particular way. So we are very proud of the fact that Indian solutions are available for Indian markets, but could be used for global market as well as the year comes by. I'm sure we'll provide not just desalination solution, but many more solutions to meet India's growing need for water. And I think this could be a first step forward in that direction. So congratulations once again, and I look forward to many more achievements from you to solve India's water problem. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for your very inspiring speech. I am sure we all agree that water is not an economic resource. It is needed for sustenance, and that pricing of water is a vital factor which goes into deciding the economic growth of a country. Also, your suggestion that can we use renewable resources for desalination of water, especially solar energy, kept us thinking a lot about it.
Thank you. So once again, a huge round of applause for Mr. Suresh Prabhu, please.